Jason Hanson at the age of 41 with the Lions his entire career, 20th year in the league. Darren Sproles in his first season with the Saints. They picked him up. What an acquisition he has been from the San Diego Chargers. Matthew Stafford will await his turn. Breeze loosening up. He will get the ball first. And we're ready to go from New Orleans. And this Sunday night game is underway with a kick. It's taken 6 yards in the end zone. And Sproles is going to come out with it. And he comes out to the 21-yard line. Tripped up by Ricardo Silva. And let's take a look at the Saints starting lineup.
Drew Brees, Purdue Boilermaker.
Mark Ingram, the University of Alabama.
Jedediah Gabriel Collins, Washington State.
Marcus Colston, Hofstra University.
Dever Henderson, LSU.
Jimmy Graham, the U.
Jamon Bushrod, Towson University.
Carl Nix, Hartnell Junior College.
Brian Delapuente, Cal Berkeley.
Jari Evans, Bloomsburg University.
Zach Streif, Northwestern University.
You look at that line, those two guards, Nix and Evans, assessed by almost everybody who follows the league as the best guard tandem in the league. And running over the left side with the ball for a first down is Mark Ingram. Their #1 draft choice 2 years ago, won the Heisman Trophy. Played his college football in Alabama. First down.
Nice job by Jed Collins, the fullback, coming back around and kicking out the end. Cliff Averill there, but Mark Ingram is getting more and more comfortable in the National Football League, and no team really spreads the carries around more than the New Orleans Saints do. Ingram, Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas, all right at that 400-yard marker, so plenty of rest for those guys.
1st and 10, and Breeze, his first pass into traffic is incomplete. Intended for Lance Moore. Drew Brees, no doubt, at this point would be the leading candidate for MVP were it not for a fella by the name of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. But you look at those numbers, most yardage for a quarterback in the first 11 games of a season. He's on a record-setting pace in a lot of areas. 2nd and 10 from the 33-yard line. Fake draw. And then Pierre Thomas makes the catch. And Thomas will come up about 2 yards shy of the first down. Let's take a look at the Lion defense.
Cliff Averill, Boilermaker.
Sam Hill, Stillman College Tigers.
Corey Williams, Arkansas State.
Kyle Vandenbosch, Nebraska.
Justin Durant, the real A2.
Stephen Tulloch, North Carolina State University.
DeAndre Levy, Milwaukee Vincent High.
Louisiana Monroe.
Aaron Berry, Pitt.
Hill is the guy who starts for Sioux. There'll be a rotation along that defensive front. On 3rd and a short 2, the pass is incomplete. Tries to hit Meacham, and the Lions hold. Alfonso Smith covering on the play. So the Lions yield 1 first down, and now the Saints will punt on their first possession.
I'll tell you what, for the Detroit Lions, with all the missing personnel that they have, to hold the Saints on the first drive of the game, they've got to be thrilled over there.
Thomas Morstead will do the punting. Stephon Logan is the Detroit return man. He returns punts and kickoffs both. Fielded at the 7-yard line. And Logan staying in bounds, skirting the sidelines, and gets banged out of bounds with a flag back down at the 16-yard line. And Logan right in front of the Saints bench, jawing with some of the Saints, but that flag is right down the sideline at the 16-yard line. Clete Blakeman is the referee tonight.
During the return, holding, return team number 82. Penalties half the distance to the goal line. First down, Detroit.
That's Rashid Davis.
Yeah, Rashid Davis has played a little offense and a little defense this year. You see him getting that arm wrapped around, and that's just too easy a call. So many times, as a special teams coach, I'd be tempted, just don't block anybody. How many times have you seen a big return, and next thing you know, you're back inside your own 10-yard line, and your offense has issues?
Too often.
Yep.
So Matthew Stafford played his college ball at Georgia. #1 overall pick coming out in 09, and he stayed healthy this year, in contrast to his first 2 seasons. They start with Kevin Smith at running back, and he's another good story. And on an end around, this is Titus Young, a rookie out of Boise State, and Young very close to a first down. They run Young around the right side.
Well, Titus Young is going to have a key role in this game because everybody wants to double team Calvin Johnson. And when you do that, that means somebody else has to be singled up. And tonight, it's going to be Titus Young that's going to get his opportunities in one-on-one situations all night. If he can win the battle, the Lions can win the game.
That was Young's first career carry. Takes it to the 19 for a first down. Now Stafford, not playing with that splint on the finger, hits Smith on the outside, tackled by Jabari Greer. Here are the Lions.
Matthew Stafford, University of Georgia.
Kevin Smith, Central Florida Knights.
Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech.
Nate Burleson, Rainier View Elementary.
Titus Young, Boise State.
Brandon Pettigrew, Oklahoma State.
Jeff Backus, Michigan.
Rob Sims, The Ohio State University.
Dominic Raiola, Nebraska.
Stephen Peterman, LSU Tigers. Gosh DeSherilich, Boston College.
Backus and Raiola each in their 11th seasons with Detroit. 2nd and 14 after the loss of 4. Play clock at 1 as he takes the snap, and then the handoff and stopped at the line of scrimmage. Kevin Smith. It'll be 3rd down and 14.
Al, it's always so interesting to see how many times you're going to get one-on-one coverage with Calvin Johnson. Now, I think if it had been a pass, you would have seen the free safety moving across the field. But that's going to be the matchup. Whenever they see the one-on-ones with Calvin Johnson, they're going to take their shots.
Johnson, a monster, 6'5", 236. Tremendous speed, 12 touchdown catches this season. 3rd and 14. Only a 3-man rush. And the screen, and then it's tipped. And the Lions very fortunate that it wasn't intercepted by Jonathan Vilma, who comes back after knee problems over the last 3 weeks. Kevin Smith deflected it 4th down.
Well, Jonathan Vilma right here has just missed perhaps a touchdown on this one. That ball tips off his hands and really couldn't have been a whole lot easier than that. That is a huge break. So far the Detroit Lions dodging some bullets out here.
Ben Graham, the left-footed Aussie kicker, to the 38-yard line. And nothing doing there as Sproles gets taken down in his tracks by Doug Hoagie. 11:09 to go, opening quarter. No score. They're playing our song, Chris.
Hard to be in a bad mood down there. Well, maybe not for that guy.
Saints fans, a lot to cheer about this season, especially lately after inexplicably losing to the Rams at the end of October. 3 wins and a bye week in November, and red hot coming in. From the 38, Darren Sproles is in the game as the back, and the pass is caught, taken to the 44 by Marcus Colston. And first, let's take a look at what Detroit will do defensively along that front.
Yeah, with Ndamukong Suh out on the 2-game suspension, that means that they're going to rotate 3 other guys in there. Corey Williams, who the Lions feel strongly should have been a Pro Bowl player a season ago, number 99. Sammy Lee Hill in there now, and Nick Fairley, the #1 draft choice from a season ago. Not bad, be able to substitute in your #1 pick when you get your star suspended.
And here goes Pierre Thomas over the left side, and he will come up 1 yard short of the first down, taken down by the longtime former Titan Stephen Tulloch, the linebacker.
Well, the one thing the Lions are always going to want to do is get some penetration going up the field, try and disrupt this running game and the passing game for that matter, because when you're coming after Drew Brees, they have tremendous pass rushers around the outside, but really the key to playing Brees is getting that internal push up in his face.
Now here's Ingram, and they give it to him on 3rd and short, and he takes the ball across the 50 to the 40. They had no running backs. So many were hurt during the year, including Thomas. So they went out, and now instead of having no running backs and no depth, they have 3 backs, including Sproles, Ingram, and a healthy Thomas. and they have done a great job on the ground. Fairley is now in the game. Sproles flanks Breeze, and Breeze throws to the right side, and that is caught and taken to the 44-yard line by Marcus Colston. Gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Two very contrasting defenses out here tonight. The Detroit Lions, a defense that really only wants to rush with their front 4 and cover up some holes in their secondary because of some injuries. Contrast that with the New Orleans Saints. They want to blitz on almost every down.
Ingram again over the right side. This time he gets stuffed as he reaches the line of scrimmage. Cannot penetrate. Spivey, Amari Spivey, the second-year defensive back out of Iowa for the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
Yeah, this time big Nick Fairley going to come up and get in the backfield again. That's their job. Try and create some penetration, force those backs to make early decisions. Fairley coming off that foot injury about the 2nd day of training camp, just now getting back to where they feel like he's playing the way that he would have, the way he did coming out of college.
3rd and 4, tight formation out of the gun. A ton of time for Breeze, and then he threads the needle and he hits Jimmy Graham, who is emerging as a star. Tremendous tight end, leads the team.
Games this season, no tight end in NFL history has more catches or more yards than Jimmy Graham. That is a remarkable number when you think about it. That time the protection was great for Drew Brees.
From the 31 on 1st down. Ingram. Tell you what, Breeze, he's pretty good in daytime, but under the lights, he's phenomenal. In prime time this season, where he has played on Monday, he's played on Thursday, and 1 game on Sunday, 62-7 over Indianapolis. 12 touchdowns, no interceptions.
You know, the one thing that isn't talked about that much, though, is the New Orleans Saints running game and the balance that they have. This is a football team that rushed for 200 yards last week, and yet it felt like they were throwing the ball every down against the Giants.
A little over 350 in the air for Breeze. 2nd down and 7, and the pass is juggled and incomplete. Colston was there, and Eric Wright might have gotten his hand in to save a touchdown.
Well, Eric Wright is the one that's going to have the tough assignment. It's the inside cover guy with the two-way go always, and you get somebody out there, and he almost came up with that ball. I tell you, Eric Wright had it last pinned against his hip, and for Colston, really surprising, he let that one get out of the way, and boy, Drew Brees took a big shot at the tail end of that one.
Colston, 6-inch advantage. The Lions defense best in the league at stopping 3rd down, and the Saints offense best in the league at converting. And now Blakeman's crew throwing a flag here before the 3rd and 7. Who moved first?
Encroachment. Defense, number 98. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's the rookie number 1 pick, Fairley. Schwartz contests the call mildly.
And you just have to wonder what kind of shape is Nick Fairley in. You know, you missed training camp and you're coming back from an injury, and you know, I think they would have liked to have played him about 15-20 plays a game, but with Ndamukong Suh out, that number is going to have to get up around 30-35 here tonight.
Already missed 5 games this year, including the first 4. On 3rd and 2, Breeze rolling and throwing, and it's caught by Lance Moore. You know, you look at that Saint offense. Smith makes the tackle. Graham and Sproles are the guys who they go to the most, but those other 3 receivers, and they've been there such a long time, Moore, Colston, and Henderson, they each rotate in taking star turns.
Well, what's remarkable is that last week, 577 yards they had against the Giants, and yet not a single 100-yard rusher or 100-yard receiver. That shows you the way they can spread it around.
We saw Pete Carmichael, who is now the play caller after the injury to Peyton. He started that in the Indy game when Peyton was upstairs. And Breeze throws, and the pass is incomplete. And Sean was saying the other day, you know, it's a funny thing. He loves to call plays. He kind of feels like a fish out of water on the sidelines. But he said, you know, the one thing I've been able to do is I've been able to look at an overview of the game, something I couldn't do when I'm calling plays.
Yeah, but you get the feeling that he's itching a little bit. He was
Sure.
walking around without the crutches the other day, and really those crutches are a big reason why he hasn't been able to call the plays. He can't hold something and then turn on the microphone at the same time.
On 2nd and 10, and running into traffic is Ingram, and then Fairley takes care of him. Fairley, the rookie out of Auburn, and of course Ingram played at Alabama, so they know each other.
I'm going to tell you what, Fairley is having a big night here so far. He has already made one nice stop on a run, and he's working against a Pro Bowl guard there in Carl Nix. Pretty impressive stuff so far.
3rd down and 11. 6 minutes to go in the quarter. Scoreless opening frame. Straight drop. Breeze throws too high, intended for Lance Moore, and they will bring in the field goal unit to try to take a 3-0 lead.
Well, with all the guys out in the secondary, I just have to think that Jim Schwartz is thrilled with the way his defense is starting out this game. Louis Delmas is probably their second best player on the defensive side. He's out. Chris Houston gone. And some fill-ins now have done a pretty good job in some man coverage so far.
42-year-old John Casey, a 39-yard attempt for a guy who thought he was retired in late August. Puts the first 3 of the game up on the board, and the Saints take the lead. Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Well, who knows? They could wind up with the college national champs and the Super Bowl champs. LSU #1 in the nation. The Saints right now looking very good, but the Packers have other ideas and maybe a couple of other teams as well. Stephon Logan will run it back and then get taken down by a host of black-shirted Saints up at the 24-yard line. Stafford will go to work with 5:45 left in the opening quarter. 3-0 Saints. Garth DeFelice is the umpire tonight, so he's on the sideline with his left shoe off. And we're going to have to go one down with the officials at least temporarily, as he'll need some attention going over to the sideline. So a little double duty being done here with the short officiating staff. Ball at the 25-yard line as they start this drive. Stephon Logan is the back, and they toss it to him, and their run back specialist can only get to the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look at the Saints D.
Cameron Jordan, UC Berkeley.
O'Brien Franklin, Tennessee.
Cedric Ellis, USC.
Will Smith, The Ohio State.
Jolon Dunbar, Boston College.
Jonathan Vilma, the U.
Scott Chanley, Nebraska.
Jabari Greer, Jackson, Tennessee.
Roman Harper, Alabama.
Malcolm Jenkins, The Ohio State University.
Tracy Porter, Indiana University.
Porter, the big run back for the touchdown, the interception to seal the Super Bowl win against Indy. 2nd down and 10. Stafford throws, and going down to get it with a flag thrown was Calvin Johnson. And a flag down.
Illegal formation. Offense. Number 16, the wideout covered up the tight end. The 5-yard penalty. Replay 2nd down.
That's the rookie wideout. Titus Young did not line up behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's pretty easy as a wideout too. You know, if you've got a tight end there, you've got to be off the ball back here, and it cost them a big play there. They finally got some single coverage out there on Calvin Johnson, and a rookie mistake got him beat.
2nd down and 15. Stafford staying healthy all year, quite in contrast to the last 2 years. In fact, last year he played in only 3 games. Ball at the start. 2nd and 15. They give it to Smith, and Smith takes the ball out to the 27-yard line. Let's talk about that broken finger that Stafford, Chris, incurred against Denver. He's been playing with that splint until now.
Yeah, about 4 games ago, it was Von Miller who hit him as he was releasing the football, and for the rest of that game he had to throw the ball without actually putting his index finger on the ball. It was almost like, how in the world would you do that? We were watching him tonight, and he was loosely doing it now.
And he was using a glove as well up until tonight. 3rd and 8. Stafford stepping up, throws, and making the catch is Titus Young. And Young will take the ball out to the 39-yard line and picks up a first down on a 3rd and 8.
Yeah, just a sort of a rare zone defense here. And Young's going to come across the formation. This is a catch and run. This is really what he was brought here to do. His ability, sort of like a punt returner in the open field. He gets a lot of single coverage, so they want him to catch it, get up the field. He made up for his own mistake.
From the 38-yard line. And the handoff this time goes to Maurice Morris in his 10th year in the league. Came over as a free agent a couple of years ago from Seattle.
Yeah, let's go back to pregame warm-ups and watch Matthew Stafford with that finger. Watch his index finger now just as he releases the ball. See how it's kind of not really on there, and that's sort of the last thing that touches the ball as it comes off. So I'm sure it has to mess with your motion, but at least he doesn't have the glove. He's had 9 interceptions the last 3 games, so a very good sign. At least he didn't have to have all the paraphernalia tonight.
And a lot of off-target throws in the Thanksgiving game, and the Lions squandered a ton of opportunities, especially early, and that run doesn't fool anybody as Maurice Morris gets taken down by the hard-hitting safety Harper.
Boy, Roman Harper is almost like a linebacker on this football team. He leads the team in sacks, always around the line of scrimmage. Here he takes on a pulling guard, spins off of it, and makes the tackle. Can't do any better than that. That was awesome.
6.5 sacks. Tied for 3rd most in history, and he still has more than 4.5 games to play. And that's caught over the middle for a first down, so they convert again here. Flag down, however, at the line of scrimmage, 2 in fact. And that catch by Scheffler will probably not stand.
Holding. Offense. Number 30. 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That's Kevin Smith in the backfield. They flanked him in the shotgun next to Stafford, and he's flagged.
It looked like Smith just kind of hooked him on the tail end of this, missed this block on Vilma, and then just tackled Vilma as he came through. He wraps his arms right around the line. I mean, that is one heck of a tackle.
Yep.
And even if your umpire's hurt, he's still going to see that.
Right. But it drew 2 flags for the same infraction. 3rd down and 18. Three-man rush, 8 back, swing it out, caught by Smith. And Kevin Smith gets to the 40-yard line. 4th down, and the Lions to punt.
Yeah, the Lions have really done okay moving the football. It's just the penalties that keep knocking them back and knocking them out of position. One on special teams before, a couple on this drive. If they can just stay clean, you get the feeling they can have success.
Well, that's what did them in on Thanksgiving Day. Ben Graham will boot that one away from Sproles. That's a great kick, and it's going to fall dead inside the 3-yard line. Terrific kick by Graham. Good for 58 yards. From the 3 on first down. Breeze on a tight roll, and then he throws behind, but it's caught by Marcus Colston. Able to adjust, and some smart, heady play by the gunner for Detroit here, Chris, on the punt.
Yeah, their best special teams player, John Windling, gets forced out of bounds now. That means he cannot be the first to touch this ball. How tempting would it have been to make that play? Instead, he backs off, no penalty. Very smart special teams play there.
2nd down and 3 from the 10-yard line. And Breeze, look out from behind. He can sense that. He looked around, and that's Fairley. He could almost feel Fairley coming up behind him.
or at least hear it.
Or hear those footsteps.
You know, that's Nick Fairley's had a heck of a quarter, boy. You know, Ndamukong Suh suspended, and oh my goodness, the sky is falling, and all this guy's done is dominate the first quarter.
And that's going to take us to the end of period number 1 with a score 3-0 Saints. And Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. So now you have the side judge going in to play the role of the umpire. That's Greg Meyer. You start with 7 officials. There's Garthy Felice, who needed attention and hasn't come back yet. And so they go with 6 officials, which should mean fewer penalties, right? Don't count on it. Don't count on it. 3rd and 4 as we start the second quarter. 3-0 Saints. From the 9.
Yeah, best third down offense, best third down defense. Here we go. And now the clock's going to run out.
Yeah.
New Orleans takes their first timeout.
Before the clock runs out. Stuttering start to the second quarter. After the Saints take that timeout before we can get a playoff. Away we go now, second quarter. Pierre Thomas is the back next to Breeze on 3rd down and 4. And Breeze taking a shot deep downfield, and with tight coverage, the catch is still made by Meacham at the 47-yard line. Great throw, great catch. Aaron Berry, very tight coverage, 38 yards on a 3rd down play.
Well, Berry really in pretty good position, just late getting his head turned around, and then Meacham with a nice little ease into Berry and slide away for the catch. Very veteran play on the outside, and of course, no reason to even say it, a perfect throw by Drew Brees.
Subtle little move to the outside. So now at the 47-yard line, Ingram, the running back, give it to him. The Heisman winner from 2 years ago to the 49, and we check into Michelle.
Well, umpire Garthy Felice, it looks unclear as to whether or not he's going to come back into this game. Apparently, he came into this game with some tendon issues in that left ankle, and he felt a pop or a snap when he started running. So he got some attention from the trainer. They taped it up, padded it, taped the outside of the shoe. But he went out there, tried to give it a go, and now it appears he might be going to the locker room for good.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. We saw Blakeman, the referee, when he came out in that last break, said, take a rest here. Colston makes the catch, and then crowd wants a flag, but they don't get it. Meanwhile, Fairley, who's had that great first quarter, has gone to the locker room, and they're checking his foot. And of course, that was the issue right from training camp.
Now the sky is falling. That is not a good sign, because boy, did he look like the Nick Fairley that we had grown accustomed to seeing in college, and well, that's a blow.
So we'll see a lot more of Sammy Hill, 3rd-year tackle number 91 out of Stillman College on 3rd and 3. Now you got a flag, and Lance Moore with Eric Wright, and Wright's going to scream about it, contending that he was pushed off on, but he's not going to win that argument.
Yeah, I think Eric Wright is saying he grabbed my arm. I didn't grab his arm.
Pass interference. Defense, number 21. The ball we placed at the spot of the foul, automatic first down.
Let's see this here. See what Lance Moore is going to sort of grab his arm and almost do a souffle move there as he wheels around. Eric Wright, very seldom do you see one that obvious where the defender gets up screaming. They scream all the time, but that one I could understand a little bit.
A souffle move.
Remember that in wrestling? Didn't you watch wrestling as a kid?
Right, now you're right. Gorgeous George, of course.
Yeah, there you go. Come on, man. I know it's the holiday season and everything. You got to keep up, you know. You got to go back to your childhood, do some things.
My wrestling was Dan Gable.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
You had Gorgeous George, Lord Blears.
Yeah, mine was real.
Second and on, there's Gunther Cunningham. He is the defensive coordinator and was on Marty Schottenheimer's staff in the 90s at Kansas City, and actually was the head coach of the Chiefs for 2 years. Second down and 9, and Breeze finds the open man, and this time it's Marcus Colston to the 21-yard line. Tackled there by Berry. A first down on a gain of 19.
Well, we talked about it before, but the clean pocket is going to be key here. Do these tackles get any push? They're both getting double teamed. Breeze has plenty of time to step up and make this throw. And already now Nick Fairley being out along with Ndamukong Suh, we're starting to see it just a bit. You can't give Drew Brees that much room.
At the 22-yard line, Breeze 9 of 14. Give it to Meacham on an end around. Gets by Wright. And is taken down after a gain of 7 yards by Spivey.
Well, a couple of reverses in the game now, but it is interesting. And you hit on it earlier, Al, talking about the guys that you sometimes just lose track of. And now in this game, it's Meacham who's stepping up and making big plays. But there's so many guys you have to try and pay attention to. You say, oh, Jimmy Graham, we got to take him out. Darren Sproles. And now it's all the other guys that are making the plays for the Saints.
And Colston has caught 5 balls already. Now Ingram goes to the outside, turns the corner, gets into the end zone. And the New Orleans Saints in 4 minutes and 8 seconds go 97 yards, 9 plays.
Yeah, you sneak in the extra offensive lineman right here, Pat McQuiston. Good job by Ingram setting up that run. It's so important to set up the blocks. You saw him sort of step inside, then bounce outside, and that was all that McQuiston needed on Avery.
Lions couldn't hold him on that huge third down play that went for 38 yards to midfield to Meacham. And Breeze takes him in with 11:44 left in the half. Casey for the extra point. Touchdown Ingram. And it's 10-0 home team. Breeze leading him 97 yards. It's 10-0. 11:44 to the half. And that one is sent by Morstead out of the end zone. Stafford going to work down by 10, early second. Lions haven't been to the playoffs since '99. You go through the decade of the aughts. They had the worst record in the NFL over that period of time. 0-16 in 2008. Didn't win a road game for over 3 seasons. And they had 7 head coaches during that time. And there's Jim Schwartz, and of course longtime Lion fans are going, shut up. We know.
They stole the bag idea though from Saints fans, right?
That's right. It all started here with the Aints. First down, the ball is at the 20-yard line. And they swing it to the outside into a lot of traffic, and it's incomplete. Intended for Nate Burleson. But the one thing that the line, they had that 0-16 year. So then they bring in Schwartz, and Martin Mayhew comes in. They really had to do a lot of different things. And to this point, so far so good. Great start this year. Remember, they ended last season with 4 consecutive wins. So you could kind of see this coming.
Yeah, and they came in with a system. They were going to build the defense. They were going to draft big-time players. A lot of people surprised they took Nick Fairley because they had so many defensive linemen that could really play. They said we needed better players. It didn't matter which position they were. We were just building our roster.
I said they brought in Mayo. He actually got elevated. He was there under Matt Millen at one point, and Stafford's going to get buried at the 12-yard line. Shanley is in there to batter him.
Looks like maybe they had a little combination coverage here on these tight ends, and when they end up blocking, both of those guys blitz and they come up with a sack. The Saints do that sort of read blitz about as well as any team in the league, and that time it paid big dividends.
Shanley with his first sack since the last game of the 2008 season. 3rd and 17. Set up a screen. Kevin Smith There's a little bit of blocking, and Smith takes the ball out to the 32, and that's going to be a first down on a 3rd and 17. Some nice running by Smith, who'd been hurt over the past couple of years, a gain of 18, and was sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring, and it finally did in October.
Yeah, literally in tears. He couldn't believe what was happening to him. The leading rusher for the Lions for a couple years, had a few injury years, and then nobody wanted him. But how humiliating for the Saints defense there. That was 3rd and a million, and they gave up the first down on a screen pass.
Well, Dr. Heath not very happy about that. Their defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, and Stafford finds the open man, and that is Smith, who was a big star at the University of Central Florida. When he was 20 years old, he carried the ball in college 450 times. Almost insane.
Yeah, and I think he re-injured that ankle there. You saw when he made that catch. It was a little bit of a limp, and he wasn't exactly sprinting with the ball after that, and immediately signaled, I need somebody. I was watching him practice. He was still limping, but after all he'd been through, he said, no way, I'm not missing any more games.
Yeah, we said to him last night, how you doing? He says, I'm ready to rock and roll. 2nd and 5. Maurice Morris comes in as the running back. Maurice Morris, the 10-year vet, takes it to the 39, and we'll check in with Michelle.
Well, we're looking at Fairley here on the bench. You talked about how he left the field. He went back, got x-rays on that left foot. Remember, that's the foot he had surgery on back in August. But he's back out here. They're calling him questionable, but they have taped him up, and he sure looks ready to come back in, Al.
He does. He's up and around right now, Michelle, so we'll watch for that the next time they're on defense. The ball is at the 39, 3rd and a deuce. Rolling out. Look out. And as they converge on him, he has to throw it to the sideline, incomplete. Cameron Jordan, rookie out of California, #1 draft choice for the Saints, was the guy chasing him 4th down.
Yeah, and Stafford took a shot on that one. Watch what they're doing to Calvin Johnson on the outside. A little bump and run, make sure he doesn't catch a little short one, pick up the first down. Then Malcolm Jenkins over the top. You want to throw it in there, good luck. Stafford on the tail end of this thing. Oh man, never saw that one coming.
There's Ben Graham, nose down with backspin. Sproles, 14-yard line, and Sproles brings it back out to the 25-yard line. Next line, Sean Rogers is the guy who put the hit on him. And that is some hit. Well, and Ndamukong Suh, we talked about him at the top of the show. We're missing him, or the Lions are, for 2 games, 9 personal foul calls since 2010. The stomping in the Thanksgiving game, $47,000 fine and a 2-game suspension, which cost him about $100,500 as well. And Suh cannot have any contact with the team, can't show up at the team facilities. In fact, what he did is he went to Portland, Oregon, where he was in high school, and then got in an auto accident a couple of nights ago. But they say he is fine, but he can't play tonight. He can't play next week against Minnesota. He's an interesting character, and a lot has been said about him. Two-sided situation here. The ball is at the 25-yard line, first down. And here is Pierre Thomas. And Chris, just your feelings about it. I mean, clearly, he's a charitable guy. He's a very intelligent guy. But on the other side of the coin, you got a guy who does what he does. And, of course, he's in the crosshairs of the NFL because he's a repeat offender.
Yeah, and it's inexcusable. What he did at that moment was inexcusable, not so much for what happened there, but here they are in this championship run after being down for so many years, the Detroit Lions. And if they have him here in this game and the next game, maybe they can make the playoffs. And he hurt everybody on the Lions organization.
For the next 2 games and in that game as well. Breeze on 2nd and 2, over the middle, getting free at the 35-yard line is Meacham, and Meacham sends Wright spinning around like a top and goes into the end zone. 67 yards.
Eric Wright's out here, but he was really expecting some help in the middle of the field. The safety came flying out of there on the crossing route and really left Eric Wright all alone. And That's a little embarrassing. The defensive tackles don't get close to Drew Brees. We've been talking about that ability to step up. There are at least 3 hitches Drew Brees was able to take, and just no way for Eric Wright to stay with Robert Meacham.
Casey looking for his 5th point of the night, and again the Lions minus Louis Delmas, the safety, minus Chris Houston, minus the backup corner and Brandon McDonald. Jim Schwartz saying, you know, look, we'll just have to plug other guys in, we'll be okay. But that was really whistling past the graveyard. 17-0, Saints. And the Saints come marching in, and they come marching in tonight, 17-0, and that kickoff will be downed in the end zone. Back we go to the 67-yard catch and run.
You're going to see Amari Spivey here chasing a crosser coming around, and Eric Wright, I believe at the top of your screen, because he was taking that outside technique, was really thinking he was going to have safety help. Usually a cornerback, if they are truly one-on-one, they'll play more of an inside technique. And there they are. That time it's Eric Wright, and there's Gunther Cunningham. Gunther was telling me the other day that Eric Wright has had great moments, and then every once in a while when he gets burned on something, he just gets down so much he ends up making more mistakes.
Timeout. Saints took that timeout down to 1.5, 17-0, 8:03 to go. First down at the 20-yard line. And that's caught. Smith. And trying to stay on his feet for a first down. He'll come up 1 yard short at the 29-yard line. It'll be second down and 1.
You know, we always talk about Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator for the Saints, and how much he blitzes, and the numbers are far beyond what anybody else does in the league. And yet in this game tonight, maybe it has something to do with Calvin Johnson. I don't know. But he has been very happy to sit back in some zones and let these Lions, at least thus far, self-destruct.
Williams worked with Jim Schwartz, the Lions head coach, when they were at Tennessee together. In '99, they went to the Super Bowl that year. Here's Burleson making the catch, and Burleson will take the ball out to the 47-yard line to move the chains. And let's duly note that Mr. Drew Brees has now thrown a touchdown pass after that last one in 39 consecutive games. One of the most venerable records in the National Football League is John Unitas 50 years ago, 47 straight games. So Brees would have a chance, if he keeps it going, to eclipse that mark week 5 next year.
You know, almost any other year, Drew Brees would be the runaway favorite to be the MVP, and now he's sort of an afterthought with the way Aaron Rodgers is playing.
From the 46. Stafford hangs in there, throws, caught. Johnson, but only a short gain as he gets the ball across the 50-yard line.
Calvin Johnson just has so many ways to beat you. Really pretty good coverage this time right out here. But watch him extend his arms back towards Matthew Stafford and just make the play. And Jabari Greer thinking, well, I can knock the ball out of his hands, but just so big and so strong. It's sort of like covering Jimmy Graham for the Saints. It's hard to get around him.
First catch of the night for him for 5 yards. And now Smith over the left side, and he'll pick up the first down, tackled by Casillas. They'll spot it at the 43. First down, Detroit.
Yeah, and one of the things that you have to do is be patient running the football against the New Orleans Saints. The Lions are a team that has a long history this season of coming from behind and winning football games. 3 times down 17 points or more. They have won games this year, so they're not going to panic.
In other words, don't touch that dial.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
The 43. Maurice Morris is the running back in this set. Fake the end around to Burleson and throw into traffic, and it's Morris, and he will go for a first down to the 31. They eclipsed that 24-point deficit against the Cowboys, thanks in good part to their defense that day. And then they were down to Carolina a couple of weeks ago in a very important game by 17, and against Minnesota they knocked them off earlier in the season. And here you go, by 20, by 24, and by 17.
So this is ho-hum time for them.
First down at the 32. Inside handoff, and Morris can't get on track. Ran into his own man, and it'll be second down 10.
You know, the running back position for the Lions, one that has not worked out the way that they had hoped. Mikel LeSure was the kid they drafted. They expected him to be the workhorse. Javid Best was going to play sort of the Darren Sproles role, but both of them got hurt, and now they're down to 3, 4, and 5 at the running back position.
Scott Linehan, we saw him calling the plays. Offensive coordinator and the former head coach of the Rams not long ago. Second down and 10. Swing it to the outside. Burleson, and he will get the first down. So the Lions down 17-0 have mounted their best drive of the game as Burleson makes his second grab of the night.
Nice job here by Matthew Stafford. He's feeling the pressure. They were bringing it, looked like, off both edges, so he just raised up and threw it out to Burleson. So many times against blitzes in the NFL now, that is the answer. Those little quick screens to the outside and let those receivers make plays.
Drive began back to the 20-yard line. And on the ground, and now you got Smith falling down but not touched. So he can get up, and he turns what would have been a short loss into a small gain to the 16-yard line.
You just have to cheer for a young man like Kevin Smith. He just couldn't believe it. You know, yeah, he had a couple of years where he had injuries, and yet here he was sitting out as the world was playing football around him. It just stunned him. It brought him to tears.
Now the Lions will go without a huddle, try to keep the same guys on the field for the Saints. It's second down and 8, and the pass is caught by Johnson. He takes the ball to the 2-yard line. It'll be first down and goal for the Lions.
Definitely always going to rotate the safety over this way. And so with a guy like Calvin Johnson, you just get him the football. And I love how Calvin just took it straight to the goal line. No dancing, just use that big, strong body. And now we've got a severe double team on him.
First and goal, keep it on the ground, and keeping his legs going and chugging into the end zone for the touchdown is Smith. So the touchdown for Kevin Smith, and that culminates an 80-yard drive. And boy, did they need it.
Yeah, I thought it was a clean touchdown. Let's check that first. That looks pretty good to me. But I got to tell you, I saw a coverage I've never seen in my life that time on the outside on Calvin Johnson. It looked like a gunner on a punt return.
Look at that.
I have never seen that. No matter how great the receiver is, I have never seen that before.
Because so often he'll throw that little fade to the 6'5" Johnson. A lot of touchdowns have come via that play this year. You're right, Greg Williams was something new.
Again.
Yeah. Hansen for the extra point. All of a sudden, the Lions are down 17-7. Calvin Johnson, Megatron, and a guy who is finally getting some national play. Number 2 overall pick out of Georgia Tech back in 07. And look at those numbers at 6'5" and 237 to run a 40-yard dash in 4.37. Vertical jump, 3.5 feet in effect. 41 TD receptions since 08. That's the year before Stafford got there. So he is a monster.
Kind of reminds me a lot of me, except for all that stuff. This guy, I tell you, when you ask the Dallas Cowboys about, remember that game? Just 2 times in the 4th quarter, he just went down and turned around. They threw it as high as they could.
And Hansen, and we dropped in the end zone and then downed there by Sproles. From the 20-yard line on first down. That's caught up at the 34 by Marcus Colston for a first down.
Pretty good one right here. You know what's been strange about this game, though, Al, is that the two leading receivers, the guys that have really dominated for them, Jimmy Graham and Darren Sproles, almost a non-factor. It has been everybody else catching balls.
Breeze on the last play before the 2-minute warning.
There we go.
To Sproles, he gets forced out of bounds. 1:59 remaining in the half. Saints by 10. Second down and 5 with 1:59 to go to the half. And we'll flip out to the left side, and that'll be caught by the ex-Chargers Sproles out of bounds at the 39-yard line, setting up 3rd down and 4.
Yeah, and this is a really key play in the game as far as I'm concerned here. You know, the Lions just pick up a touchdown. They cut the lead to 10. If you can keep Drew Brees and the Saints off the board here, maybe even get the ball back here and have a chance to maybe cut it to a 1 touchdown or even more, big play. That's Jimmy Graham at the bottom of the screen.
Blitz coming, gets it away, and you got it. Jimmy Graham at the bottom of the screen with that blitz. Just runs that little slant over the middle, first down at the 49-yard line.
Well, they just look at it. They go 3 receivers the other way, and if Jimmy Graham is one-on-one, they're just going to go there almost every time.
Saints have 1 timeout. 1.5 minutes to go. Brees feeling the heat, but then has no place to go. Gets taken down in the arms of Sandy Hill with Corey Williams there as well. And what they're trying to do is keep him down as long as they can to keep that clock running. Ticking down 1:10. 2nd down and 13 after that sack. Brees and over the middle. It's caught by Sproles. Sproles breaking tackles. Takes it all the way to the 33-yard line to put him into field goal range. At worst, under a minute to go. 21 yards.
With all the chips on the table here, it's been Graham and Sproles making the plays as expected, perhaps.
Leading receivers this year in terms of numbers of receptions. Check down, Sproles, and Sproles able to avoid a tackle, stays inbounds, picks up the first down, tackle to the 20 by Alphonso Smith. And they're going to say that he stayed inbounds, so they have to take a timeout. .28 seconds to the half. No timeouts for New Orleans. The catch by Graham on the replay here.
Just one-on-one on the outside, and they don't really care who it is covering him. And that was really the key conversion, and now the Saints have a little roll going.
And first down from the 20. Brees into the end zone to Lance Moore. Touchdown, Saints. Well, we talked about those wideouts taking star turns. They're all taking star turns tonight.
Absolutely the perfect coverage. Run your middle backer right down the middle of the field. He's right there. And Drew Brees just too good. He's going to look off the safeties, come right back to Lance Moore. Perfectly thrown, perfectly caught. I tell you, Al, when these guys get it going, it is just a show.
And they got it going to the tune of 577 yards. On Monday night, they have 304 yards at the half tonight. Moore had 2 touchdowns against the Giants, 1 tonight. Casey for the point after. And the Houdat chant starting. Under the roof. 22 seconds to the half. New Orleans answers the Detroit touchdown with 1 of their own to make it 17 again. 24-7. Brees' numbers are tremendous. Stafford with a lot of completions for the attempts, but not that much yardage, and he had that 1 good drive, but that was answered very, very quickly in a 2-minute and 6-second drive by the Saints. So it's 24-7. And the Lions will get one more crack at it.
You know, what do you say about Drew Brees? You kind of run out of superlatives after a while. He was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week for the 3rd time. Yards passing here. He is, as they call him around here, the alpha male. It all runs through Drew Brees, and you just have to wonder what the Miami Dolphins, who looked closely at him when he was a free agent and passed, must be thinking.
Didn't like the x-rays, I guess. That shoulder. And it's taken up at the 10-yard line, and that's going to be run back to the 27-yard line by Rashid Davis with 17 ticks.
Drew Brees can do so much with his eyes. Watch the way he manipulates the defense here. He's going to look the safety off that way to make sure the safety over here doesn't jump back underneath it. And then he feels good about zipping it in between that linebacker and the safety on the other side. Perfectly thrown. Brave catch. Lance Moore goes up. I tell you, it is exciting to watch. We have guys playing the quarterback position this year at a level that we just haven't seen in a long, long time.
Brees closing in on 4,000 yards.
Look out.
Stafford throws down the sideline, and that is caught. And Titus Young is out of bounds at the 21-yard line. So the Lions already in field goal range at worst now. 1st and 10. They have all 3 timeouts. Do you want to take another shot here?
Patrick Robinson, who gave up the big play a week ago. Some miscommunication. Malcolm Jenkins playing the free safety position. Saw Brandon Pettigrew, I believe it was, coming across the field. And then we saw Matthew Stafford with a little look off. And I think he got Malcolm Jenkins on that one. I really don't think that one is the fault of Patrick Robinson.
And the Lions will take a timeout, which they can use. It's a freebie here because they still have 2 left. Not that they can use those. To see what the play call should be. There's Schwartz, Linehan, the offensive coordinator. You want to make sure that whatever you do, you don't want 8 seconds to elapse here, unless you get into the end zone.
Now watch Malcolm Jenkins here as Pettigrew comes across. He's going to jump it, and you can just tell by the way Robinson was playing that on the outside. He was expecting safety help, so it's going to be easy to point the finger at Robinson, but I really don't think it was his fault.
52 yards. You got to be careful here for the Lions. You don't want to run a play that stops in bounds and takes all of the time off the clock. And you don't want to sack to make the field goal that much more difficult. On 1st down, going for the end zone, and it's incomplete. So Pettigrew was the closest to it. 3 seconds, and now they'll bring Hanson and his guys out.
I'll tell you, he had a shot that time. That one looked like there was enough room to get that one in there. Of course, young quarterback, you don't want to blow that play, but Pettigrew was behind everybody. It's a rare moment where you catch him napping a little bit and you have a big body, but just missed it.
42-yard attempt for Hanson, who was drafted by the Lions in 1992. And it is deflected and blocked. Patrick Robinson and Schwartz arguing the Lions case. Let's see what he had in mind here.
Patrick Robinson, such a great athlete. Look at him laying out for that thing and knocking 3 points off the board.
Maybe contending he was offside.
Turns that corner so tightly. What a play.
24-7. Lions will get the second half kickoff. And the Detroit Lions with an uphill battle here. Down by 17, but they will get the ball. Morstead to kick off. And Stephon Logan back in the end zone. 304 yards of total offense for the Saints. So 577 against the Giants on Monday, and they're on a 608-yard pace at the half. And the third quarter begins. Morstead pinning him in the corner of the end zone. And Stafford will take over at the 20-yard line, and we go to Michelle.
Well, big story in the first half, Al, as you know, is Nick Fairley and that left foot. Now, I just talked to Jim Schwartz, and he said the x-rays were negative, but Fairley's foot is sore. He said still our lack of pressure on Drew Brees doesn't have to do just with Nick Fairley. He said we've got to do better at that, and we've got to be better in coverage, and we've got to take advantage of our offensive opportunities. No penalties.
Yeah, the penalties a killer early on, Michelle, and again, so much of the game revolving around Detroit getting that pressure on Brees, unable to do it. Now Stafford trying to lead another Detroit comeback, and he starts here with a pass right on the numbers to Calvin Johnson for a first down.
Well, for Calvin Johnson, just 2 catches for 19 yards the first half. How did they get it done? Double coverage everywhere you look. Here with a corner and a safety over the top. Come back with the linebacker this time running underneath Calvin Johnson. And finally the kryptonite defense. You only play this against Superman. I've never seen that in my entire life. Ultimate respect.
That may start another trend.
Yeah.
From the 42-yard line, they keep it on the ground. This is Smith. Good run to the 40-yard line. Kevin Smith, 4th year out of Central Florida, and again he was in, he was out, he was in, he was out, and he was sitting at home and finally got the call about week 6.
Yeah, and you know that the Saints are going to be thinking pass rush here, so you get those ends up the field. That time Cameron Jordan trying to come after Matthew Stafford, and they snuck a run inside of him.
And Smith was calling Martin Mayhew in Detroit saying, hey, I'll do anything. I'll play special teams, you name it. Try that for a few teams. Only offer he got was from Canada until Detroit called after the season had begun. Catch made here by the tight end Brandon Pettigrew, tackled by Jabari Greer, and back we go to Michelle.
Also spoke with Sean Payton, Al. You know, Matthew Stafford's 49-yard pass to Titus Young right there before halftime. Payton was pretty upset. He called that sloppy coverage and said that was to blame. He said they got to get that cleaned up. They understand the ability of Detroit to get hot and come back in the second half, and so they know they've got to get some problems fixed, Al.
Yeah, he was upset, Michelle, but at least it didn't hurt him because they were able to block the field goal attempt and keep it at 17. 2nd and 5 from the 36. Stafford stepping up, nice maneuvering in the pocket, and then the pass is caught by Will Heller for a first down.
It's a good call, Al. That was Matthew Stafford doing his Drew Brees imitation. Watch how deep he gets and then steps up. It draws those defensive ends to him, and the deeper he goes, the deeper they have to go, which allows him then to step up between them. Now basically you're facing just a 2-man pass rush. Will Smith trying to work all the way around the top, but couldn't get there.
Maurice Morris is the running back from the 26 on first down. Quick toss outside. Burleson makes the catch, and Nate taking Greer for a ride before he gets dumped out of bounds, and that will draw a penalty and make the Lions even closer to the goal line when this call is made. Clete Blakeman is the referee.
I think there were 2 fouls on the play. It looked like the first flag came out before he went out of bounds, and then there was a late hit out of bounds.
Well, clearly the second foul is for after the play. Here's the first.
There are fouls against both teams on the play. Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, offense number 13. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit, out of bounds, defense number 41. Those penalties offset will replay first down.
So that's Harper after Burleson had gotten the first penalty to offset.
Remember, an offensive player can put his hand on the face mask. You just can't grab it and use it. There it is. Good call by the officials.
Very good.
Now out of bounds, late hit. Another good call. A little too much there on the tail end.
So back we go to the 26. Kevin Smith back in first down. And over the middle, Smith gets free and then falls down at the 17-yard line. Again, the gimpy ankle hurt Thanksgiving Day, high ankle sprain, but in there tonight.
Well, Calvin Johnson is just drawing so much attention. When they bring the back out, there's nobody there to play him. Calvin Johnson, the linebackers, the safeties, the corners, we showed you all the stuff. They all want to get a piece of the coverage on him, and basically nobody covered the back at all.
Well, you saw Smith go down, and there he is for the injury timeout. Well, Kevin Smith was able to get up and come off under his own power, but that ankle gave way, had the sprain, was able to practice this week, and appears to be done for the night. He had that knee injury in 09. He had the thumb in 10, injured reserve. Both years out on the street, gets an opportunity again, and now back on the bench, at least for the moment. Maurice Morris is the running back. Fake to him, pass to the outside is caught by Nate Burleson, and that's a first down on a 2nd and 1.
Now, one of the true veterans of the game, Jeff Backus, on the outside with the tough assignment against Will Smith, probably the best pure pass rusher for the Saints. And what is this one, 173 games, something like that
Correct.
He's played in a row, and 172. And I asked him, when's the last time you missed a game? He said 7th grade. That's pretty impressive for a guy up there banging away every single game.
We're going to head to next week, 173. Cutting it back is Morris, and Morris takes the ball to the 7-yard line.
You know, the Detroit Lions just don't go away, do they? They just sort of hang in there, and you think that, all right, you score the touchdown before the half, and they're just going to go away, and they don't. They're young, they're resilient, they believe they can come from behind, and they're on the doorstep again.
3 monster comebacks this season, trying to do it again on a night when they got a lot of help in the NFC this weekend, with key teams losing, including the Giants and Dallas. And here is Morris taking the ball inside the 5-yard line, setting up a very big 3rd and short, 3rd and 1. And now you got flags coming in all over the place.
Looked like somebody threw a punch in there for the Lions. Couldn't see exactly.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Offense number 16. That penalty will force 15 yards in the end of run. It'll be 3rd down.
And that's Titus Young, the rookie. 2nd call against him.
Just so many times. And with the referee right there. I mean, you want to go, didn't you pay attention to Ndamukong Suh? Don't you realize? And here they are on the doorstep, and just drives you berserk. Amazing.
I mean, you can say rookie mistake, but come on, at a certain point, you played enough football.
Amazing.
3rd and 16 now. Killer penalty to the 18. 3-man rush. Over the middle, the catch is made by Morris, so they're going to have to settle now instead of a prospective 7 for a field goal.
Think there's any chance at all that Calvin Johnson's going to get this ball? Watch everybody surround him as he goes down in the middle of the field. You may beat Greg Williams' defense, but you're not going to beat him with Calvin Johnson tonight.
He's magnetized. Here's Hansen. 31-yard attempt. Ben Graham to hold it. And the kick is good. Well, the 11-year veteran Raiola, the center, really giving it to Young on the sideline. 24-10. 24-10, Saints on top. Manning will get the ball for the first time in the 2nd half.
Love that light show on the stadium.
Great.
Really cool.
Yep. Tremendous job. A lot of refurbishing, obviously, here after the hurricane in 05. Here's Sproles. And Sproles brings it back out to the 20-yard line. And Mr. Drew Brees, already with 252 in his pocket and 2 touchdowns, will go to work for the first time in the 2nd half.
Drew Brees has been absolutely brilliant tonight. Started off, you had to worry about the pass rush of the Detroit Lions. So what did he do? Got the ball out of his hand very quickly early on. Then as Nick Fairley went out of the game, had more time, clean pocket, hit the big play down the field. Now watch the little look off here and come back and hit the big touchdown. But watch what Brees does. Completely turns his shoulders. This isn't just a look of the head. He turns his shoulders all the way in that direction to move the safety and then fits it in beautifully.
Vintage Brees, who starts from the 20-yard line. Mark Ingram is the running back. And Ingram has no place to go and is taken down for a loss of 1 at the 19-yard line. Second down and 11.
Yeah, I think that was Cliff Averill in there on that one, and I don't think we've called his name very much. We haven't called Kyle Vanden Bosch's name very much either. Coming right here off the edge, goes right through the block of the fullback and makes the tackle. Or almost made the tackle, set up the tackle anyway.
One reason we haven't mentioned their name, neither guy had a tackle until then. Second down and 11 from the 19. And Brees hangs in right over the middle, goes to the tight end. Graham makes the catch. First down, tackled by Spivey, the safety.
You know, and Spivey is a former cornerback, one of the fastest safeties in the game. So you go, okay, I kind of like this matchup, but it just doesn't matter. Jimmy Graham has just proven to be uncoverable this season. I get a vote for the all-pro teams, and I think that's my tight end right there. He has simply been remarkable this season and deserves it.
Second year out of Miami, college basketball player for the Hurricanes. Rolls to the short side of the field and stays in bounds before he gets shoved out of bounds by Chris Harris at the 45-yard line of the Lions.
It's nice to have some versatility from your wide receivers as well. They're able to come down and crack back and set the edge on the outside. Bushrod comes around, he cleans up on the corner, and for Darren Sproles, the beat goes on for him. He is found a lot of different ways to beat people this year.
20-yard gain for him to the 45-yard line. Sproles again, picked up from San Diego. Money deal really there because Phillip Rivers was dying to keep him. And the Chargers found him expendable at that price. He comes here, and of course, he really fits in because he takes the role, in effect, and then some that Reggie Bush was filling. Reggie wanted to play more of a role here. The Saints basically said, it's not going to work for us. We'll find you a spot. Off he goes to Miami.
Yeah, what did Peyton Manning say to us earlier this year? How did Drew Brees get Darren Sproles? That's not fair.
Yeah. Second and 7. And that's the first incomplete pass after 12 straight connections intended for Ingram. It'll be third down and 7.
Yeah, if I remember the story correctly, wasn't it Drew Brees who sort of recruited Sproles when they were working out together in the summertime, and he knew a little what was going on with Reggie Bush and may want to get out, and sort of was planting the seeds, and those seeds are paying off now.
I think it came down to the Saints and the Eagles at the end for Sproles. Third down and 7. Low snap, no problem for Brees. Whoa, except the problem could have come on the other side as Wright provides the coverage on the play, and it's fourth down.
Well, even against great quarterbacks, pressure makes them do strange things. That time came with a corner blitz off the edge, or maybe just the outside linebacker, pressure right in his face, and he floats one, and Eric Wright nearly had a pick 6 on this one. Just nothing on that ball.
So the Lions defense needed a stop. They get one, albeit in a position where Detroit will probably wind up backed up after the Morstead kick. Stephon Logan is back. It's a high floating kick, and Logan's going to call for and make the fair catch at the 11-yard line. 6.5 to go in the third, with the Saints up by 2 touchdowns. Lions start this drive from the 12-yard line. First down. On the ground. Maurice Morris. Chris was talking about Backus, the left tackle, #1 pick back in 01. He started on opening day And so he's made 172 consecutive starts. He eclipses the mark set by Dick LeBeau, the great defensive coordinator of the Steelers. Peyton Manning had his streak end this year at 208, and Backus now at 172, second most to start a career. And boy, has he done a lot of losing, along with his center, Dominic Raiola, who also came aboard as a second rounder in 01. And 2nd and 4, that catch is made over the middle by Calvin Johnson. You take a look at Backus, and finally this year, you know, they started out 5-0, and you're thinking about, can they get to postseason? A 269 personal winning percentage, lowest ever for a guy who's played 150 or more games with the same team.
Yeah, why do you think Dominic Raiola went off on Titus Young?
Yep,
Like, come on, man. You have no idea what you're costing us here. I'm sure the same speech was given to Ndamukong Suh.
From the 27-yard line. And this is Morris, and let's go to Michelle.
Well, I've been watching Kevin Smith down here on the sideline. You know, initially it looked very, very bad. Then they worked him through some drills, had him doing a lot of lifting of his heels, standing on tiptoes to the satisfaction of the trainers. Taped him up, looked like he was coming back in, but now his mouthpiece and gloves are on the training table, and he doesn't look like he's coming back in. He's questionable officially, Al.
At this point, I think he would like to, but they may be keeping him on the sideline, Michelle. Ball to the 29. Keelan Williams, one of their other backs, now comes in, their former Redskin, flanking Stafford in the backfield on 2nd down and 8. Stafford throws, and that's a catch, and taking the shot. Rasheed Davis, and gets up and signals first down.
Rasheed Davis was playing cornerback against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, and watch this catch. Jenkins is going to come right through him, and somehow he holds on to the football. That was brilliant.
From the 49 to the ground again. And this is Keelan Williams, 5'11" and 230 pounds, out of LSU.
Now, one of the problems with Kevin Smith's injury is that he's the best pass protector that the Lions have. So now as the clock continues to tick here, and they're going to have to throw it more and more, they're going to miss Smith more and more.
Right, they have Morris and they have Williams. They re-signed Aaron Brown, running back this week, but he is inactive tonight. Morris is the back here on 2nd down and 9.
The safety is fooling around with Calvin Johnson.
They send 5, and that's a phenomenal catch by Burleson. A flag is down, a flag down at the 28-yard line, and this one may be against Detroit, and is, and Burleson says, come on. Pushed off on Tracy Porter, and this comes back.
How many big plays have we seen taken back against the Detroit Lions tonight?
Pass interference. Offense, number 13. 10-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Burleson, a veteran player, and sometimes as a receiver, you don't even know you're doing anything. Let's take a look here. A little extension of the arm. So many times you can get away as a receiver if you keep your arm bent and push off with your elbow a little bit. You fully extend that arm, and more often than not, they're going to make that call.
That's 7 penalties tonight for 58 yards. The Saints tonight, no penalties, no yards. 2nd and 19. Inside handoff. Morris gets tackled by Vilma up at the 47-yard line. Under 3 minutes to play, 3rd quarter.
And there have just been so many of these situations where the Lions have kind of gotten it going a little bit, and then they have some big penalty, and it seems like I can remember 5 times now they've been 3rd and 15 in these situations.
Well, it killed them on Thanksgiving too, and Young's penalty, of course, obviously hurt. They had 11 penalties against Green Bay, 3rd and 14. Burleson and Johnson both going to the right, going deep downfield, and the pass is underthrown. Johnson had gotten free. The pass floats. Jenkins gets back and knocks it away. Flag down. Flag is down at the 30-yard line, so there's contact down the field.
Illegal contact. Defense, number 33. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
So at least they get the first down. Jabari Greer with the contact.
I'm going to tell you what, Malcolm Jenkins just made one of the great safety plays I've seen in a long time. Calvin Johnson with a double move completely fools the Lions. Watch him go out and then up the field here. He's got them all. Right by Tracy Porter, who has to grab him, and Malcolm Jenkins comes from absolutely nowhere to make that play. He was playing sort of up in the box, runs across the field, and saves the Saints.
Penalty had to be there. That's where we saw it. The first penalty of the night against the Saints.
It's a big one, though.
Oh, yeah.
Automatic first down.
Because otherwise it would have been 4th and long and another punt. 2:12 to the end of the period. Oh, and then slipping is Morris, slipping on the artificial surface, taken down at the 45-yard line.
You know, if there's a place that you've got to think is going to be the next upgrade for the Detroit Lions, probably along this offensive line. They've got some guys up there. They've been together now. They're improved. Rob Sims came in, made them better. Steven Peterman maybe has been the most consistent of these linemen up there this year. But they still are not that dominant force when they're trying to run the football.
2nd and 7. Stafford, it is caught to the 10-yard line to Tony Scheffler, the pass-catching tight end. The former Bronco, he and Jenkins exchange a word or two, and the ball will be spotted at the 10-yard line or inside for a 1st and goal.
Again, safety help over the top, which means one-on-one coverage on the outside, and that time for Jabari Greer, one-on-one against a safety, against a tight end, should be able to win that battle. Malcolm Jenkins cheating over towards Calvin Johnson. The one-on-ones away from Calvin Johnson are where the Lions are going to have to win.
36 yards. Stafford's now throwing for more yards than Breeze has. And he'll add a few more here, and getting into the end zone. Touchdown, Maurice Morris. That is a 6-minute drive, 88 yards, 5 rushes, 5 passes, and a big hands-to-the-face penalty against Greer.
You've got Brandon Pettigrew breaking to the out route, and really they're going to sort of allow you that catch. They're going to try and come up and make the tackle, and Vilma just missed. Something about this Lions team.
Yep. This year.
This would be the 4th if they could come back and find a way to win this one.
17 or more. They're just going to check that out upstairs, reviewing the call. And now Hansen for the extra point. As the touchdown is confirmed. Little bobbled snap there, but Graham did get it down. And with 43 seconds left in the 3rd, got a ball game, gang. 24-17 Saints. Matthew Stafford putting up good numbers tonight, 22 of 27 for 290 yards. Played his college ball at Georgia after he had grown up in the Dallas area. Missed 19 games over 2 years because of injury. Kept re-injuring that shoulder, but he's been healthy all year. 46 career TD passes, most by any Lions quarterback over the first 25 starts. And they haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback in Detroit since Greg Landry went to the Pro Bowl back in 1971.
And I had his football card.
It's taken in the end zone by Sproles. Hit hard, taken down at the 17 by Carey. Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans, serving beignets since, well, only 1862. No carbs.
Those are addicting.
Yep, they are.
Don't. If you're
phenomenal.
You eat one, it's over.
Ball at the 16-yard line is Breeze. We can just drive, swinging one out to the outside to Thomas. Taken down by Levy, and under a half-minute now to go in the third quarter.
I tell you, the Saints can do a lot of different things to you. That time, Jari Evans comes out and kicks out Kyle Vanden Bosch. Their protection scheme is so complex. They can stop you so many different ways. Just about the time that you think you have them figured out, all of a sudden they flip the switch and do something completely different to you.
Saints will let the clock run out, and we will go to the final quarter. We've played 3 under the dome, with New Orleans leading Detroit 24-17. And Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Sunday Night Football, 24-17 New Orleans. Right now, the division leaders, Green Bay, San Fran, Saints, and Dallas. Detroit and Chicago would be the wild cards in the hunt at the moment. Atlanta losing today. The Giants losing today. So a great opportunity for Detroit as they get back into the game, down by 7. But now on 2nd and 7, Breeze throws one deep downfield and incomplete. Intended for the tight end Jimmy Graham. Coverage good by Aaron Berry. 3rd and 7.
So many times with the Saints we talk about the 2 guards, Jari Evans and Carl Nicks, but I tell you, Jamon Bushrod on the outside has done a nice job against a good pass rusher in Kyle Vanden Bosch. A very athletic tackle, able to step around and make some plays, and these guards obviously holding up as they always do. Those are the 2 Pro Bowlers inside. Not many teams built around guards.
Yeah. 3rd down and 7. And Breeze able to dance around, has time, and then the pass is caught well short of the 1st down by Graham. Tackled there by Tulloch.
Yeah, excuse me. Probably the biggest difference I think in this Lions defense this year has been the improved play at the linebacker position. Stephen Tulloch, number 55, in coverage here on Jimmy Graham. Stays on him, and then it's going to make a clean tackle. No broken tackles. Don't pick up the 1st down. Of course, Justin Durant came over as well. Much, much better at linebacker this season.
Tulloch very used to the Schwartz system since he played at Tennessee, where Schwartz was the defensive coordinator under Jeff Fisher. Now Morstead's punt. This is Logan. Flag is thrown. Logan at the 30-yard line, and he'll get turned back at the 33-yard line. And another flag.
Unbelievable.
What are you doing?
It's this. My coaching genes are coming out at me now. This is
your common sense.
It's hard enough to beat the Saints. You can't beat yourself in the process. Oh.
So 2 separate fouls on the play as Blakeman has a conference. Again, they're -1 official with Garthy Felice, the umpire, with a knee issue, unable to get out there after the 1st quarter.
Yeah, the play was well over.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct against the receiving team, number 11. Threw the ball at an opponent. That'll be 15 yards from the end of the run. 1st down, Detroit.
Like he was just jawing with Ramon Humbar over there at the end of the play. No big deal. Happens all the time. There we go. Talking a little bit.
Yep.
Humbar says, thank you very much for 15. I mean, Jim Schwartz has to just be going crazy. And he tries to stay patient with his football team. But time after time, these young players, and they just keep doing this. You don't go to the playoffs doing those sorts of things.
So the ball goes to the 18-yard line to start it. Maurice Morris will be the running back on 1st down. Play action. Going deep, one-on-one, and getting free was Burleson, and then he stumbles out of bounds. Threw it over Tracy Porter's head. Burleson makes the catch and then stumbles out of bounds after a gain of 47 yards.
Well, the difference in this game is now the Lions are making plays with their one-on-one coverage. This time, Tracy Porter, their best cornerback. Nate Burleson gets the thing over the top, and here's why. Watch the safety coming to Calvin Johnson. So Calvin Johnson isn't catching the balls, but he's allowing the one-on-one coverage opposite him.
Johnson obviously drawing the crowd, cleaning up for the other guys, and then the run defense is up to this one here as Franklin makes the tackle on Morris in the backfield for a loss of 2, 2nd and 12.
How about that play? Abreu Franklin just splitting everybody on the offensive line. That's as good as you can do playing the nose tackle position. Goes right between Ella and Rob Sims, and it's a little momentum shifter.
Detroit dominant in the second half. It is 2nd down and 12. Stafford throwing into traffic, 2 by 2 there, and incomplete for Burleson. It'll be 3rd down and 12. In the 4th quarter this season, and it would figure with Detroit making all of those comebacks, second in the NFL would be the Saints at 9.5 points per game in the quarter. And the top team would be Detroit with all of those comebacks averaging 10 points in the 4th quarter this season.
Interesting call here. About 5 or 6 yards gives you a good field goal shot. But the Lions may be thinking field goals aren't going to win this thing and make a legitimate effort here for the 1st down.
3rd and 12. And that gets tipped at the line of scrimmage. So Stafford releasing quickly, looking for a little bit of yardage underneath. Gets tipped, incomplete, 4th and 12. Looked like Humber might have gotten a hand on it.
Well, you just can't throw those quick screens without attacking the knees of these guys on the outside. There, Jeff Backus had no choice. He had to go after the knees to get those hands down. Maybe it was just one of those automatics between quarterback and receiver, and Backus didn't know it.
55-yard attempt for the 20-year man Hansen. And Hansen's kick is no good. Wide to the left.
And that flips the field position now.
Certainly does. Breeze will take over near midfield. Hansen missing, still a 7-point game. And it's a great visit when you're down here, the National World War II Museum. This Wednesday will be the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and everybody who has been to that museum just raves about it. At the 45-yard line, the Saints take over after the missed 55-yard attempt. Interesting choice by Jim Schwartz, but so be it. Gives the Saints the ball near midfield. Lions get after Breeze, and he somehow escapes, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Marcus Colston.
Nice play by Aaron Berry down here. Kind of lulled Jimmy Graham to sleep. Looked like he was going to back off and then got the jam on him. Drew Brees wanted to go that way, but saw the jam, felt uncomfortable, and then was forced out of the pocket the other way.
Sproles is in. They toss to him. Then it's Graham, and it's a nice tackle on the outside made by Spivey, and that sets up a 3rd down and 7 for the Saints.
The Lions feel like Amari Spivey closes on ball carriers as fast as any safety in the game. The former corner, they took a chance on him. They wondered, could they convert him to a safety? Gunther Cunningham said, give me 8 games with him, he'll be a starter. 8 games later, he was the starter.
Started 9 games in his rookie year. 3rd-round pick out of Iowa last season. 3rd and 7, blitz coming, and the pass caught by Graham. And he gets taken out by Harris. So they dial up the blitz, and Breeze gets it away. 1st down after a 3rd and 7. That's a gain of 16.
You know, Gunther Cunningham takes a chance here, but when you do that, you have to play this guy one-on-one, and they're just, I haven't seen anybody all season long able to do it. Drew Brees had to just be loving the fact that the Lions blitzed everybody on that play, no safety help, knew exactly where he was going with the ball.
Mark Ingram now in the game as the running back on first down. Takes to him. He says all day. Graham on the outside. Takes the ball to the 22-yard line. Gain of 14.
Well, Drew Brees, if there is a negative, maybe the fact that his height doesn't allow him to always see over the line of scrimmage, but watch how far away from the line of scrimmage he gets. Good 10, 12 yards, and Jimmy Graham on the outside was blocking. He almost went to his knees blocking, and the coverage just sort of dropped him. 11.5 yards there. You see how far away he is, but that allows him vision down the field to find Graham.
Drew at an even 6 feet. And this is Ingram taking the ball to the 18-yard line. Graham is now over 1,000 yards receiving for the season. There's still 4 games and most of a quarter to go.
My estimation, of course, Drew Brees, the #1 guy that you can't lose for the Saints. The #2 guy, Jimmy Graham.
Potent combo. 2nd down and 7. 4-man rush. Brees over the middle. And that is caught by guess who? It's the Graham show, at least on this drive. Spivey making the tackle. And Graham tonight has caught 8 passes for 89 yards.
Just asking a lot of Spivey, having to cover Jimmy Graham one-on-one with a two-way shot. And if you know what I mean there, when you are an inside receiver, you can go deep, you can break right, you can break left. It is almost impossible to cover a guy with this size and this athleticism in the open field.
Already setting records for receptions by a tight end and yards. And that pass is caught on the outside by Darren Sproles. Touchdown, Saints. And so the game, which was tilting back to Detroit, and then that Logan penalty backed them up. They could only get to midfield, a little bit beyond. They try a 55-yard field goal. They leave Brees with only 55 to go, and he gets it done.
DeAndre Levy that time sees Sproles fake inside. As Jimmy Graham's going to clear the coverage away. And that combination between those two guys and, well, what's his name, playing quarterback, pretty tough to handle this year.
Casey with the extra point. He's kicked a bunch of them this season. 9:44 left in the 4th. 31-17 New Orleans.
Under prime time lights is more than a fight. It's where heavyweights collide. The Lions and Saints lay it all on the line. This is Sunday night.
Figured to be a lot of scoring tonight. There has been 48 total points in the game. 31-17 Saints. Stafford having a big night, but down by 2 touchdowns. Morstead will send this one a yard in. Logan. Stephon Logan to the 22-yard line. And Stafford with already 337 passing yards tonight. Back to work. Ball at the 22-yard line. Lions down by 14. Stafford hitting Johnson. Johnson breaking away from a tackle to the 28-yard line, and he was down at that spot. And they'll spot it at the 28-yard line. The mental mistakes by Detroit.
It's absolutely been the difference in the game. Titus Young with that one. I don't think he's been back in the game since. Stephon Logan, just silly stuff. The penalties in this game, 8 for 73 against the Lions. The Saints, 1 penalty for 5 yards. It is the difference in the ballgame.
And as it was on Thanksgiving Day, when they had 11 penalties, Stafford spreads them out. And that's caught by Johnson, and Johnson out to the 41-yard line where he's tackled by Jabari Greer.
Well, now because the Saints have a lead, they're being a little more cautious back here. Now 2 deep safeties. So Calvin Johnson able to work a little bit one-on-one underneath as they back up and play a bit of prevent here. Doing it again.
6 catches, but just 69 yards for Johnson. Now they go to Scheffler, the tight end. Porter rolls him down at the 46-yard line.
Because really, if you're Greg Williams, you're playing against touchdowns. Field goals don't bother you at this point, especially when you've got Drew Brees playing offense for you. So he's saying, fine, you want to take about 4 minutes off the clock and dunk it down here? I'll start blitzing when you get inside the 20.
Lions going no huddle, but taking a lot of time here on 2nd down and 5. And on the ground they go, and this is handed off to Keelan Williams to the 40-yard line. He goes. He's tackled there by Jenkins, picked up on waivers from the Redskins.
2 safeties in a different area code. One's hiding underneath the NBC logo down there. I mean, they are way out of there. Good job by Scott Linehan saying, well, listen, if you're just going to give me the run, I'm going to have to take it.
Covered by peacock feathers. First down to the 40-yard line. Halfway through the 4th quarter. To the outside. The pass is caught. This is Keelan Williams. And he'll pick up close to 8 on the play.
The Saints defenders were talking about how much different Matthew Stafford looked watching him getting prepared for this game. They saw him in his first game ever, and he made every mistake known to man as far as playing quarterback. And tonight, he is sharp.
Had 3 picks in his first game as a rookie back in 09. 2nd and 3.
Going to have single coverage at the top.
And he'll send it to Burleson with a flag getting thrown. That's Patrick Robinson covering on the play.
Yeah, just pushed off again.
Pass interference, offense, number 13. 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Yeah, I really thought Burleson got away with another one in the prior drive. Just one-on-one, safety helping over the top. Calvin Johnson as a quarterback, you have no choice. You have to go here, and you see the little push. It was just happened just before that. You could see the way Tracy Porter reacted to it. It threw him off base. Good call by the official.
There's a hidden yardage that is just a killer. 2nd and 13. Pressure on, and then the pass is dropped. He got it away to Morris. It wobbled, and it was low, and it's 3rd and 13.
Oh, this was going out the gate right here. This one might have been a touchdown. Blitz coming here off the edge. You've got Lyman out in front, nobody in sight, and you can't complete the pass.
There's Smith, ankle wrap. Lions have to huddle here. Got to get the right personnel in on 3rd down and 13.
But probably 4-down territory. You can go for half if you want.
Now Titus Young back in the game, bottom of the screen. Stafford will throw, and it's incomplete over the middle. Intended for Morris. Got to check it down. 4th down and 13 as he looks over to the bench. Now they're going to send in, at least for the moment, they'll send in the punt team.
Now you wonder if Jim Schwartz is second guessing that decision on the last one to kick the field goal instead of backing up the Saints. He probably just thought it didn't matter where I left it.
Yep.
Drew Brees is going to take it the distance anyway.
Graham's punt is fair caught at the 14-yard line by Darren Sproles. Now Brees can go to work on the clock with a 14-point lead and 6.5 to go. Drew Brees writing his name into the record books in so many categories: season, career, consecutive, straight seasons with 30 or more touchdown passes, second most to Favre. 6th straight season with 4,000 or more passing yards. He's also the first guy in history to throw for 4,000 or more yards in a team's first 12 games. And it ties Peyton Manning for the most in NFL history. He starts this drive on the ground, and they hand the ball off to Ingram. And Ingram was trying to stay in bounds with a flag. 9 penalties against Detroit and just 1 for 5 yards against the Saints.
Sometimes those receivers down the field, when the guy starts to get away, they tend to grab jersey, and Marcus Colston was at the point of attack.
Holding. Offense number 12. The penalty is half the distance to the goal line. Replay first down.
And that was Colston, second penalty of the night against the Saints.
Well, Alphonso Smith on the outside as he tried to peel away, kind of played it up. Sometimes those guys, if they're good enough, can draw a flag, and if you're going to draw one, that was a pretty good one to draw right there. Good news is you backed up the Saints. Bad news is Drew Brees is probably going to start passing now.
So the ball is back at the 10-yard line. And Ingram can only spin away just so far.
You know, it's the difference between teams that have Super Bowl and championship experience and being in this moment. You know, Drew Brees just very calmly goes to the hard count, gets his 5 yards back.
There is no foul on the play. The defensive lineman was able to get back out of the neutral zone at the time of the snap. It'll be second down.
Well, he almost got the 5 yards.
He just didn't snap it soon enough.
Yep.
There's the championship banner. Let's see. I'm not so sure the end out there. Who was that, Averill? I'm not so sure he got back.
Second down and 16 with the ball at the 8-yard line. Toss, Ingram. And Harris, the former Bear, corrals him at the 13-yard line. The 3rd down and 11, and this is where Brees will just take as much of the time off the play clock as he wants.
Well, you know, the Lions are, if they can make one more play here, they're going to get it back. This is a team that really does not like the blitz, and they don't have to here. I think with the inexperience they have in the secondary, Gunther Cunningham probably just going to rush 4 and try and play coverage on the back end.
3rd down, 11. And there's Brees just milking the play clock. And then going deep into traffic. Tip incomplete. Going for Robert Meacham, covered by Alphonso Smith, and it's 4th and 11 with 5:01 to go.
What a great pass rush by Kyle Vanden Bosch that time. He's going to get away from the chip of Sproles and get around Bushrod and just miss the arm of Drew Brees. Could have been a game-changing play on the back end. Alphonso Smith, who I have to say has played a pretty good ball game tonight, filling in there for Chris Houston. Almost came up with it too.
Thomas Morstead punting from inside his 5-yard line, and Logan will have no opportunity. That's a good kick as it goes out of bounds near the 40-yard line. Stafford back to work again. They'll spot it at the 36. 1st and 10, Detroit from the 36-yard line. And Stafford gets it away to the outside. Flag is thrown. Burleson makes the catch. And Burleson, for the moment, gets wrestled down by Jenkins at the 32-yard line. You saw the flag come in at the 50.
Did he push off again?
That would be the 3rd time.
Pass interference. Offense number 13. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Not a hat trick that you want.
No, and let's see if he extends the arms. I was watching it. you can see that full extension. You just can't do it. Take it from a guy who cheated his whole career. You can bend your arm and extend your elbow and usually get away with it, but the full extension of the arms, it's not going to happen.
Who that done cheated his whole career?
I just fudged it a little.
1st and 20. And that's caught by Maurice Morris. And Morris with some good running out to the 35-yard line, about 11 yards short of the first down.
Really good hustle on the play by Dominic Raiola to get out there and spring his back. He was just fighting his tail off on the other side, kept hustling, and got a kick-out block at the last second.
2nd and 10. Blitz. Gets it away. Dropped. Incomplete. Brandon Pettigrew. Oh, now you got. Man, it doesn't stop, does it?
Guess what?
It doesn't stop.
The thing that's so disappointing is when you get beat for the same reason in back-to-back games. They did the same stuff in the Thanksgiving game against Green Bay, and they're going to lose a second one. I'm not saying the Saints wouldn't have won anyway, but this certainly would have been a much, much closer game.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 87, contact with an official. It'll be 15 yards from the previous spot. The down counts, makes it 3rd down.
At the end of the play, the official looked like was kind of trying to push Pettigrew away just to avoid any kind of confrontation. Little throwaway by Harper, a little kickback, all that stuff. And then, as the official was just trying to push him away, Pettigrew pushes back.
Guaranteed flag.
And that is a good call. Those guys have to be protected out there.
Absolutely. On the borderline of a disqualification. 3rd and 25. It's 108 yards in penalties against the Lions. And Stafford's going to get sacked back at the 5-yard line. And then a flag comes in at the end from Blakeman. Junior Gillette got the sack. All the way back to the 4. Which, if it stood, would set up a 4th and 41.
Or if it's a penalty.
Right. It's a first down.
Yeah.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, number 94, late hit on the quarterback. It's a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Cameron Jordan, and that's exactly what Detroit needed to avoid death in this game.
I mean, ball game's over.
Yep.
You don't do that, basically it's game over. He's down.
Yeah,
forearm right there to the head. Easy call.
So the Saints give the Lions a big gift. Ball at the 21-yard line, 4 minutes to play. 14-point game, first down. Burleson, no pushing off that time. He was free enough.
You know, the strategy has been a good one. You know, when they double team Calvin Johnson going away. Sean Payton, you know, for Cameron Jordan, top draft pick. I don't think he has a sack on the season. Pretty good against the run, leading tackler for among the defensive linemen, but that was a huge mistake.
Payton pointing up to the board as if to say it was going to be 4th and 41 on first down. And snatching it out of the air is Pettigrew.
I don't think Patrick Robinson can believe he missed that one. He had this one totally read. They had a trap defense on the outside where Robinson was just going to jump that out cut, and somehow he missed the ball.
2nd and 3. 3.5. Lions over timeouts and a 2-minute warning. They're taking a lot of time here. And Morris put his arms up as if to say, huh? And the pass intended for Scheffler is incomplete. It'll be third down.
They've just done this double team in so many different ways. This time the safeties rotate this way, but only because underneath they're going to have a linebacker covering Calvin Johnson. So again, they're going away from him, that time to Scheffler, just unable to hit it.
3rd and 3. Sidearm sling is incomplete. Never had possession. Malcolm Jenkins dislodged the ball from Calvin Johnson. Look out, Sean.
And he came from a million miles away on that one. He had to be 20+ yards deep in the middle of the field and is going to come up and dislodge this ball at the very last second. That is the second play tonight he has made coming from nowhere, and that was big.
Meanwhile, at the end of the play, there's Sean Payton on crutches, just a few yards away from the action. It's 4th and 3. Obviously, the Lions to go for it. That play clock is down to 1. They got to get it away. Everybody rolling to the right. Stafford throws, and Porter picks it off. Backs into his own territory and finally gets taken down to the 47-yard line.
That was some battle with Tracy Porter working on the outside. There was a lot of bumping. There was probably a little grabbing going on. But at the end of it, it was Tracy Porter who came out with it. The Super Bowl hero. A little tripping, a little grabbing, a little pushing, and finally the interception, which is a bit of a rarity for the New Orleans Saints. They don't have many on the year.
So now Breeze, and Detroit's going to have to take its timeouts on defense. It's a short gain here. Lions are going to stop the clock with 2:50. Penalty story so big again for the Lions.
You know, for Jim Schwartz, it's a guy that was an economics major at Georgetown, a very intelligent guy. It has to be frustrating to watch his football team play not so intelligently. For the guys that have been here for so long, who dream of making the playoffs and what this team could be, you can see, I think that's Dominic Raiola on the back end just screaming. Just can't believe they're giving away a second game. Remember the way he went after Stephon Logan, I think it was, on the sideline. And I'm going to tell you, as a veteran player, I probably would have been doing the same thing.
2nd down and 10. And Breeze is going to roll out and throw. And that'll be caught. Staying in bounds is Robert Meacham. And that picks up the 1st down. And puts Detroit between the rock and the hard place. Now they have to take a timeout, but it's already a 1st down here.
Yeah, it just shows the kind of trust that Sean Payton has in Drew Brees. It really doesn't matter what the situation is. He is willing to let Brees throw the ball, and for good reason.
342 passing yards tonight for Brees. So 32 straight games, or in other words, 2 complete seasons worth of games with 20 or more completions. 35 pass attempts in 16 straight games, or the equivalent of 1 full season record. 39 straight games with a TD pass. Again, Unitas in his sights with a 47 game streak that's a half-century old. One thing about Brees, if you look back at that streak, there was one very lucky moment for him, and that was in St. Louis in the game that they lost when nobody thought St. Louis had a chance. And in garbage time at the end of the game with only 8 seconds to play, he was able to get the streak, keep the streak alive. You know, Chris, we think back to that St. Louis game, and of all the results this year, that may be the most shocking, because that comes off the Saints' 62-7 demolition on Sunday night of Indianapolis. But Sean Payton said, I don't want to say it was a wake-up call, but that may be a very good thing that happened to us.
Yeah, there's no question, because they were feeling so good from the week before, and yet here they were against an opponent that they just assumed they were going to roll over, and they didn't. And what it proved to them was that they have to show up, you have to practice, you have to play like you're in a championship game every week, or in the NFL you're going to get beat.
And Peyton told us the other day, he said, that's the worst game I've ever coached. And I don't mean inside the game. I mean starting on about Wednesday of that week. Detroit has used its last timeout, so the next time the clock stops, it'll be at the 2-minute warning. And that's the last time it'll be stopped for Detroit. So the Lions are on the verge of losing a 5th game of their last 7. Still in the hunt in the wild card race. The only good thing that happened to Detroit today is that Chicago lost, and the Giants lost, and the Falcons lost, and the Cowboys lost. So that's about the only thing they can write home about. 2-minute warning in the Big Easy, where the Saints are on their way to a record of 9-3. Toss to Sproles. And Sproles will take the ball to the 29-yard line. Detroit cannot stop the clock. Matthew Stafford, big night. Statistically, 30 of 42, 395. Should be good enough to win a lot of games, but when your team is penalized 108 yards, and so many of those penalties were ridiculous on one hand and costly on the other. As was you talk about the Ndamukong Suh penalty and subsequent suspension. Not only did that happen, but it happened at a time in the game when it would have been 4th down. It would have compelled Green Bay to kick a field goal. Instead, they got a 1st and goal, went in for a touchdown, made it 14-0, and see you around. The Saints take a timeout.
It's just so hard to win one game in the NFL. But when you give away back-to-back games during a playoff run over silly things like that, there's just no reason. Everybody who plays the game now, they watch games on television, they fully understand what the rules are, and you just can't let your emotions get away from you. I know it's been tough, you know, for Jim Schwartz watching it, but he has no choice now. I mean, this has to be hammered home. You would have thought it was hammered home a week ago. I'm sure they talked about it during the course of the week. But to let it happen again, Jim Schwartz and this coaching staff, they have to take a little different tact. I've seen some coaches that'll cut guys over that to make the point that that will not happen again.
So 4th and 1, a 1st down will end it. And leaning is Ingram, but it doesn't appear to have it. And this would give the ball to Detroit on downs. It would also probably put some more time back on that clock. They're going to measure here, and they're going to say 1st down after a few seconds ticked off.
1st down the other way.
Yep, 1st down 4. They want to measure here first. Then if they didn't get it, they should actually go back and put about 5 or 6 seconds back on the clock. So they will bring in the chains.
How about Matthew Stafford tonight? 30 for 42, 395 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 17 points on the board. And a lot of 3rd and 15s because of silly play.
A few links. And thus he'll have one final opportunity, but down by 2 touchdowns with 56 seconds to play. Kyle Vanden Bosch pretty much neutralized by that protection scheme.
You know, if the Lions don't make the playoffs this year, they lost to good teams at home, but they did lose at home, and that's often the key to your season. San Francisco, Atlanta, Green Bay. They've had good wins on the road, though, at Tampa, at Dallas, at Denver, who's on the hot streak now. Well, a weird season.
They did put 5 seconds back on the clock to go to 101. And the pass is caught on the outside and taken out of bounds after picking up the first down is Maurice Morris at the 41-yard line.
I think the good news for the Lions out of this game is that Matthew Stafford's hand appears to be well. You know, he was messing around with it a lot before the game, just trying to get it loose, but the way the ball came out of his hand in this game looked really almost completely different than what it was even a week and a half ago on Thanksgiving.
From the 41 on first down. And dropped. The Lions lost tonight, and that's imminent. Will clinch the NFC North title for the undefeated Green Bay Packers.
Packers clearly got a scare in that game today. It was Eli Manning who came all the way back to tie the game with a 2-point conversion late, but then Aaron Rodgers and company, as they've done all season long, answered again, drive the length of the field in about less than a minute and kick the game-winning field goal at the buzzer.
2nd and 10. And then Stafford's going to go down to the 34. Well, one thing about Jim Schwartz, he was a young kid when Bill Belichick brought him in personnel in Cleveland, and then got a shot from Jeff Fisher. And there is Brandon Fisher, who's 23. He's Jeff Fisher's son, longtime head coach of the Titans, and at least he's out for a year, but I would expect Jeff would be back at some point as the head coach again. And you know, Schwartz is just saying, hey, look, I got a shot as a kid. This kid is really, really good, and watch him in the future. And on 3rd down and 17, Morris will get taken down, and that's going to take the Lions back home, and the Saints to a mark of 9-3. And that puts even more room between the Saints and the Falcons, who lost today, as the Falcons trail by 2. The Saints have already won head-to-head.